because, some people have never been through what we do every single day. And we're assuming that they know that, we can get this done in about 90 seconds and understand whether or not you're going to qualify. But sometimes you just got to clarify that with them. This is the Just Real Quick podcast, where we discuss how to succeed in the world of sales through confidence, discipline, and consistency. Are you ready to be intentional about creating more opportunities that lead to sales? Tune into this episode right now for the latest insights and strategies that will take your sales game to the next level. I'm your host, Jefferson K. Rogers. Welcome back to another episode of Just Real Quick. I'm by myself in the studio today, but I got 4 of my top dogs on the Zoom call with me today. We're all going to be going over some sales strategies, bringing you as much value as possible. Every week, we're coming to you with sales tactics and strategies to help you take your sales game to the next level. And first, to start us off, my guy, Gerard, is on the road today. Jerry, what you got for us, brother?
All right. So today we're going to cover several closing techniques that, if utilized correctly, they can really make a difference. With the 2 techniques that at least I want to cover today, we can get into some more if we have some time. The one would be the walkout close, and the other would be the right of rescission close. Now, I want to set this up a little bit. The way that we have our sales process set up, it's not so we get to the table, the closing table, and we're doing a bunch of negotiating. It's really just, okay, which option makes the most amount of sense? Because the way we set everything up, we're handling objections, we're painting the picture. If you were to watch some of our better guys, you would think it was a laydown because of how smoothly everything goes, but everything's intentional. The reason why I say that is because when we're utilizing these closing techniques, they need to be utilized properly. So for one, the process alleviates most of the objections. However, we're going to come into certain things that you just can't get past. And that's where those techniques come into play. So, and it's also important, not only do we follow our process, but before we just jump to using those techniques, we also have to utilize all of our other skill sets to unpack whatever it is that's going on. And it's really just a last ditch effort to use those. So the first would be the walkout close. So with this, again, it's a situation where you want to unpack everything. The last thing that you want to do is not unpack something. There's you don't uncover the unspoken objection if there is one, and you go walk out, you come back in, only one, like the husband's sitting there, the wife's nowhere to be found. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, man, we can't do it. You get your stuff and you're on to the next appointment. You want it to be where you walk back in, they're both sitting there and they ask a lot of times just some arbitrary question about financing or something like that. And then they're like, okay, let's do it. So in kind of setting all that up, we have McKay and Andres on the call. I'll start with Andres. So Andres, can you kind of walk us through about how you go about that, like the word tracks you use and kind of the flow you would use with the walkout close?
Absolutely. I just used that this morning. So yeah, I'll just walk you pretty much how that appointment went. Super cool people, right? I set the expectations before the appointment. We got to the close. I gave them all the information. The first thing they said is like, well, we have time to think about this, right? I'm like, absolutely. And just kept on going, telling them about how everything was going to work, right? And then the most important thing about this close is you have to try to close them a couple of times before. Like this is like a last ditch effort. Like, you tried a whole bunch of times and they didn't, say yes or no. Because I've seen a lot of people also do it too early, where, they don't have enough information. You haven't done any fact finding and know how they're going to do it. So what I did, because they had already told me, we're going to need time to think about it. And I was like, sure, absolutely. But I kept going, and they were just talking between each other. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, how does this look for you guys? You know what I mean? We have the cash, we have the finance, how does a project like this usually look for you guys? Well, we'll probably have to do the financing. Okay, awesome. So I know we have to do that. Like, yeah, but, we still have to think about it. Okay, sweet. Well, with the financing, there's 3 reasons why people do anything. You got to like the price. No, sorry, not. You got to have a need, and you guys definitely have a need. You have to like the product, and you guys love their window. I know that. Last one, most important, is going to be affordable. Is this affordable for you guys? Is a 380 affordable for you guys? Oh, yes, it's affordable. Okay. So what's stopping you from moving forward today? Well, we just got to talk about it. It's a lot of money. It was like a 30+ K deal. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm like, well, look, I actually pulled out my calendar. I'm like, I have a whole bunch of appointments on the board. We're going in a first come, first serve. like Bobby told you, like I told you here earlier today. So what I want to do, because I mean, it sounds like you guys just need to talk in private amongst each other. I actually have to make a phone call anyways. I don't know if you guys have noticed, my watch has been going off like crazy. Let me go make this phone call. I'll take my window, and it's going to take about 10 minutes, right? And then I'll knock back in, and I come back in, and just let's see what we can figure out, in 10 minutes. Because most of the times, most people I talk to, they just need a couple of minutes to talk between each other. And then, like I said, if you guys have any other questions, I'm still here. We can still get this handled for you guys. So I just walked out, took my window. I left them my iPad so they can see the price, and everything was broken down for them. And I made a phone call. I was there for 10 minutes. I went back in, and they're just sitting there, and they're like, well, we have a couple more questions. And when they said that's a yes, you know what I mean? That's a yes, because you got to go in and say fucking no, or we have questions. And then they had a couple of questions. Right. Yep. And then I just answered it for them. They're like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do this. We need to do this, like you said. And I think it's a great deal. Let's get it done. Sweet. Right. And that's how easy it was. And it was easy because they already had all the information. I did all the fact finding. So all they had to do now was just make it work for them. And that was it. Right. And that's usually how I set it up. That's how most of my closes go if I do have to walk out. And if I'm walking out, it's because I've already asked him 2, 3, 4 times, is this affordable? Are you guys ready? Are you guys comfortable? What do you guys think? A whole bunch of ways trying to close them a different way, but it didn't work. Or I'm still giving you time, but I'm not giving you a night, because people start overthinking, and maybe it would have still closed tomorrow. But that is the biggest disservice you can do to one of your customers, to yourself, to anyone out there, is to leave them a night. They overthink it. They don't get anything. And then they don't even get windows, and they're fucking miserable. They get like this customers I talked to, they were getting a whole bunch of noise and heat, and they were paying $500 in energy bills, so now they're still spending all that money, but they didn't do anything to their house. So now, they're done. They're happy. They're excited. They're finally getting this done. They cross it off the list. And one thing I was touching with Patrick the other day, like just the service. Nowadays, you look at Amazon, you look at everything else, everything comes straight to you. Like we're there. We set the appointment. They never left their couch. We got them windows. They didn't even have to leave. They work from home. So it just makes so much sense. Like I said, so as long as you know that you're going to be doing this people a disservice by leaving without getting a sale, you should always be asking for a sale on the spot every single time. Like I said, I'd rather have a no than have a maybe.
Yeah, that's why we're there.
Absolutely.
They invited you to their house, to their couch, and you got to do everything in your power to get that deal done right there. Because as soon as you leave, at least from my experience, your percentage of getting a close goes way down.
Just consider it not closed at that point. That was amazing, Andres. Thank you for that. So we have McKay on the line as well. So that was so well explained. I think we can transition to the right of rescission close. And it was something that we were talking about on the call before, and McKay had some really good feedback for that. So McKay, if you wouldn't mind taking us through your process and like a scenario for that as well.
Absolutely. I view both the walkout and the right of rescission as two different tools in the same toolbox. They're being used for the same type of situation where, for whatever reason, they've still got some little hang up in the back of their mind about making that decision on the spot. And to be able to use these properly and effectively, like we've been talking about, you have to lay the groundwork. You have to build those expectations. With the first 5 minutes you're in the door, I'm laying out expectations that this is how we do business. This is how we find our ad homes. It's first come, first serve. I will need a yes or a no from you at the end of the day about being one of our show homes. I need to know whether I'm reserving these discounts for you and your home, or I'm going to be able to offer them to somebody else. So once you've gotten through all of that, you've gotten over those objections, I'm price conditioning early on throughout that whole process. Like we've talked about, there shouldn't be a lot of objections in negotiating at that closing table. But I find particularly with some of the older generation, or a lot of times people who are a little more put together, a little more financially responsible, they are very hesitant about making those decisions on the spot. And whether it's the walkout or in some cases using that 3-day right of rescission, you're basically giving them that out in their own mind to say, okay, this was our decision. We were comfortable with this. We didn't feel pressured into it. And that's what our job is at every step along the way, from setting the appointment to running the slides, building the expectations, then closing, is we want to build high urgency. I need a yes or a no from you right now because these go first come, first serve. I won't have a slot any later, but low pressure. Whatever the decision is, I want you guys to be happy with it and happy about it. So One word track I often use when we're getting to that point and they're still a little bit unsure, kind of laugh with them, joke with them. Like, look, my job is to make sure you guys sleep well tonight. I don't want you tossing and turning tonight, sweating through the sheets because you got all this buyer's remorse. But the last thing I want is for you guys to miss out and regret losing such a good opportunity as this, because I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't help you understand what a massive savings and what a great opportunity this is. Because I've worked with a number of customers that we stopped by their house once, they didn't do it then, we come back later, and prices go up every year, and now they're kicking themselves in the pants for not doing it then. So one thing I like to be very clear about with all my customers, I want you to know you're fully safe, you're fully protected here on this contract. I was going to show this to you when we went through it anyway, but down here at the bottom, you have a 3-day, no strings attached, no questions asked right of rescission. You are fully protected. I want to make sure everybody we do business with is happy and comfortable and excited about this project. That being said, we have that in place more so for our full price retail bids where people are really kind of, on the fence and unsure about things. With the way we work these advertising homes, first come, first serve. If you're already planning on thinking about calling me up in a couple of days, I'd rather you let me know now, so we're not having to come back and redo all of this work. But like we've talked about, you have this need, and then you're going back into, we went over the issues you're having, we went over the need that you want. We've gone over the different pricing. Maybe they've had a quote already, and you're rebuilding that value of where you were at, but you're just alleviating that worry and that fear. Because there are people who have had bad experiences. Having done a summer of it myself, I know pest control is notorious for lying to people, getting them into a contract they can't cancel without these, ridiculous cancellation fees that end up costing more than what it would cost them to stick with a contract for the year. So sometimes we got to help alleviate some of those fears. But it's very much on a case-by-case basis. You got to really feel out the people, and it's not something that I use very often. But just a couple of weeks ago, I had a $53,000 deal that went from we can't decide tonight to closing on the spot after bringing up, pointing out, and properly laying out the 3-day right of rescission for them.
Now, McKay, tell us why you wouldn't want to use that more often as one of your closing strategies.
Generally, we don't want to be planting that seed and planting that bug in their minds that, I can say yes now to get this, asshat out of my house, and then I can just cancel later. Because there are people like that. The same type of people we run to when we're setting appointments, and they'll just set the appointment to get you to go away because they're too, weak-willed to say no, so they can just call you later and cancel. There are people out there like that. And that's why it is very important how you're framing it, how you're wording it, and what customers you're even going to use this with. And for me, it really is when you can just get that feeling. They're the Dave Ramsey type, we never finance anything, where, we'll never make a decision without praying about it first, or, sleeping on it first. Like, you're giving them that little bit of assurance that, yeah, you can sleep on it, you can pray about it, you can spend 72 hours praying about it, but definitely not a go-to. But it is an important tool and skill to develop, particularly with our modern style of high urgency, low pressure. We're helpsmen. We're just trying to make sure you're getting the right project at the right time. But I can tell you, this is the right project, this is the right time, and this is the right company.
So if you are going to use it, the point I was trying to make there by having you answer that is, this is something you want to use all the time. And if you are going to use it, go back and take notes and practice, drill, rehearse the things that McKay uses to pre-frame it. Because he is never going to use that unless he has pre-framed it and done all the groundwork. So this is going to give him the best chance of walking away with the contract, instead of, like sweating for the next 3 days, wondering if somebody's going to cancel. Like, that's the worst feeling, knowing that you used that close, but you didn't put the groundwork in, just by telling them, like, listen, if you're going to call me anyways, we may as well just settle this right now. It's like, somebody in this neighborhood is going to take advantage of this anyways. It's not a big deal to me. I want to make sure that this is the right fit for you guys. You guys can sleep well at night and know that you made the right decision. And just so you know, here's something that can back you up. And I also use that with credit cards too. The credit card company backs them up. And that was another close that I used to use is, put it on the credit card. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you have nothing to worry about. We got 800 5-star reviews. We're not going anywhere with your money. But if you are still worried about it, put it on your credit card. If something happens, they'll reimburse you and they'll come after us for it. But you don't want to plant those seeds. That's the other thing. Is like, if you don't have to, you're a professional salesperson. It's your responsibility to put in the work, develop the skills, practice, drill, rehearse all the closes that are going to give you the best opportunity to have a happy customer and to never have to worry about cancellations. And just because you planted that seed, you may have done it extremely well and laid the foundation for it and got the commitments from them, but it's still hanging over your head a little bit, because now it's like at the forefront of their mind and your mind that you put it all out there for them to see. Andres, do you ever use that one?
So that's funny. Before you joined, I was saying how I don't use that one.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't like it. I hate cancellations.
And you probably picked that up for me, because I hated it. Almost every single one, no matter how I tried to pre-frame it, they all canceled. I got the sale and it felt good, but they all canceled on me.
Yeah, I think I would much rather get a no than get a cancellation. That's why I avoid that like it's the plague. I hate it, but it is a tool that you can use at the same time. That is like a level 3 closing type of deal that I would do. Because McKay's been doing this since before me.
Yeah.
You look at the guys that have been doing this a while, they can use that with a lot better success than let's say someone that's a junior director. And they start using it in almost every single appointment, then they're going to have an extremely high cancellation rate because that's all they can use. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the key part here, just knowing where to use it. If you feel shaky about it, don't use it. Mm-hmm. If you can't say that comfortably 100%, don't use it. Yeah. But when you get to a level where you can close, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month, no problem, whatever you do, then yes, absolutely. You have that tool. If you need to, you can take it out, try it. You can try. I mean, most of the guys that are super successful, they're not just doing one close. They're doing multiple closes in every single appointment.
Yeah. And I remember, first starting out as a closer, junior director, first starting to run appointments for others, and having those times where you use that or the walkout and you're just sitting on pins and needles for that 3 days. You're just like, man, did they really actually want it? Are they going to call me and cancel? Nowadays, I have way fewer cancels. I haven't had a cancel on one that I've used a 3-day right of rescission close that I can remember in, 6+ months. The ones that cancel are the absolute laydowns that you don't think are canceling in a million years. And then they call and tell their, grown child about it, who tells them they, just got swindled, or they were high during your appointment and they sober up and think they made a mistake. But it's, it is definitely, there's a right way to do it and there's a very wrong way to do it. And any sort of doubt, any sort of shakiness, the moment they can sense that you're being desperate by using that rather than helping them just overcome that fear, then that's when you're just planting that seed, because they can feel that. They can feel that commission breath that you're just saying anything you can to get that sale.
I like that. Commission breath.
I heard sales breath yesterday. That's funny. Yeah. So great feedback, guys. Those were the two main things I wanted to cover, because they can be used so lazily, especially the right of rescission close. Mm-hmm. And there's deals that I feel like I could have used it on, but I still didn't, because it was such a low probability or high probability for them to cancel later that I could have still got them to move forward right then, but it just didn't make sense. So like McKay said, it's more of kind of like demographic, if you will, like more well-to-do people that are better with their finances, older people that are a little bit more hesitant. And it's more based off of feel like, okay, I feel like this is what's going to work for you guys. Not just trying to force it just for the sake of forcing a right of rescission. As far as time, Jeff, do we got time to get into anything else, or do you think we need to wrap it up?
Yeah, if you guys want to jam for another 10 minutes, I think we can add a little bit more value here and either elaborate on those ones or add in, something from these guys and one of their other top closes that they use.
So one thing that I had on there was a leave it to the bank close. Now, this is not something that we use a whole lot. I have used it. So that's an idea. Did you, McKay or Andres, have something that you guys think might be a better idea?
I use that close quite a bit.
Okay. Let's roll with it for a minute.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I think that could be a good training. I guess I'll start. So with that close, it just comes down to like you get them finance, of course. They're not paying cash. Most of the time is because they're worried about the credit, or they're worried about the payment, or they can't make a decision like, what, I got to go over my finances, see if I can afford it. It's always like an issue with the payment or just money overall. The way I word it, I'm like, well, look, guys, it seems like it's an issue. What we can do right now, we can leave it to the bank. Right? We can leave it. Let's get you guys finance. Let's see what we can get. And then we know what tools we have. Because if we can get you finance, then it can be like, okay, we can use this finance option. We can go with the 0%, whatever you guys want. And then if not, then we'd have to do cash. So let's use this tool, see what we have. And then once you get them finance, I want to say it's probably 99% of the time they're going to close.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just them making a decision to go forward. If you can get them to, like, they're kind of a trial close, kind of not, but like it's towards the end. And that's like the last thing, that you get them to agree. And like now they got approved. It's like, all right, guys, so we got approved. We got this much. This is what we can play with. Again, we can do a loan payment, a payment as low as, whatever, $200 a month. Right. And we already pulled your credit. So definitely, this would be a perfect time to take advantage of the opportunity because you've already been approved and you weren't even sure if you were going to be approved.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's the, a little bit of assumption you got to mix in there and just assume that this thing is closing. And start asking them how you want to take care of it. And if it's a credit card, great. But if it's financing, sometimes they're a little bit wishy-washy and they need a little bit extra explanation about how this is going to go and what the process is and how long it takes. Because, some people have never been through what we do every single day. And we're assuming that they know that, we can get this done in about 90 seconds and understand whether or not you're going to qualify. But sometimes you just got to clarify that with them and be like, well, let's just leave it to the bank. I mean, it'll take us 90 seconds. Literally, I just got to plug in a couple things and we can see if we can get you approved. Then we know what we're working with. Because sometimes like cash is out of the question. Like they can't do it unless we can get them financed. But unless you can get them to go through the qualification process, then you're dead in the water. Do you ever use that one, McKay?
I do. Not too often hey, we'll just leave it up to the bank, kind of like word track per se.
Okay.
But very similar to what Andres went over. It's when they're almost like using we can't decide if we're doing cash or finance or which finance option. They're almost using that as like an excuse to not make a decision. Like we just don't know what makes more sense. We got to figure out our finances. Cool. Well, real easy. We'll do a quick check with Synchrony, see what we get approved for, what options we have in front of us. And then that'll help us make a decision. That'll, give you more information to figure out what's going to make the most sense for you. And that's always after I always make sure I'm building up the financing options through Synchrony because they truly are really great, especially right now, like with what's going on with banks. Just last week, I had a one-legger that, called back and closed the following day after, talking with his wife. But he said he ran the 9.9% for an 11-year with no lien past his finance guy. And his finance professional was like, dude, that is amazing right now. Like, that's an awesome deal. And my credit fail yesterday morning, he went from, holy hell, 9.9%. Like, if I see something like that, I'm never doing that. And I, calmly and clearly explained, honestly, these days with the way rates are going, I'm amazed it hasn't gotten higher. We're able to get you a no lien option. They're not putting a lien on the home. They're not putting a lease on things, taking collateral for 9.9 fixed with no payoff fees or penalties for early payment. HELOCs these days are starting at 6. Most of them are up at 8 or 9% with a lien against your home. And that's a 6-month process right there. It's a pretty amazing option. And he then called his wife to talk things over with her because it was another one-legger, and he turned into he mentioned the rates. She gave him, a hard time about it. And then he started just regurgitating what I just told him, telling her how it's such a great deal with what's going on right now. And then they were both for it. They just both had, they were in the 5s. So not much we could do for them there. But yeah, using it, when they're having that hesitancy about which option to go for, but you always build up what a great option it is through financing. And then I'm, probing, testing a little bit, or do you like to do cash for a project like this? Is that an option? And then at that point, if they're saying, well, yeah, we could potentially, then I'm like, no, well, awesome. That'll actually save you $500. I don't write it down at first because I don't want people who can't afford cash, just to feel bad about it. But We actually pass along a little savings to you if you do cash. Here's the new price. It'd be half down, half after install. Whatever option they choose, that's the best option I offer.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Something I want to just bring up real quick. I think that's one of the most important things, knowing what we're competing against in financing. And it's always the HELOCs, right? And that information's out there. You can look it up. You can go on fucking Google and see. HELOCs are at 8 to 9% right now. You can't get anything cheaper than that, right? Like the one, Sam, going back to the one I closed this morning, that was one of their things. Like, oh, well, we also wanted to look into a HELOC and see it. I'm like, HELOCs, it's 8 to 9% right now. I'm at 6.9%. This is a much better. There's nowhere else you can go. You can get financing as good as what we're offering you right now.
And it's going to take you like at least a month, sometimes 2 to 3 months to get your HELOC done.
Exactly.
And on top of that, with no payoff fees or penalties, if they get that HELOC in 6 months or a year, they can just transfer it over, do a balance transfer whenever they want.
Yeah.
And that's another tool I build up. What a lot of my customers do is they'll wait for us to install these windows, then get an appraisal, then get a HELOC, because you've got an additional $30,000, $40,000 of equity from these windows. Now you're going to be able to add that to your HELOC, use that to, cover this project, other projects on the house. And it is a legitimately great option.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing, besides just the fact that some people don't use financing because they're worried about the merchant fees. And it's, I'm talking to business owners like, wait, like you're worried about the merchant fees, but they don't see that they're missing out on a ton of opportunities because a lot of their clients couldn't afford it if they weren't using financing. So there's a ton to understand about your opportunities that you're missing out on if you're not really glorifying the opportunity that financing creates for customers. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's some amazing financing options, and we work with two of the greatest companies that are out there for home improvement and home services. But then also one of the things that I love that you guys do so well is you're educating these customers about financing and the financial markets and HELOCs and where rates are at right now. That, most people just don't know that. Like Blake knows that stuff because he was in the mortgage industry. I mean, I don't know this stuff. Some of this stuff is news to me, McKay. It's amazing because, last I knew, I was hearing about HELOCs and they were at like 4.25%. And that didn't seem like very long ago, but now like it's all out there for everybody to see. HELOCs are 8 and 9% depending on where your credit's at. And it takes you a couple of months, sometimes up to 6 months to get a HELOC all approved and all your appraisals gone through and jump through all the hoops with the bank. And literally, as soon as I type your information in, within 90 seconds, we can figure out whether you can get a 6.99, 7.99, a 0% for 24 months right there on the spot. And you talk about it with that kind of enthusiasm about this opportunity, and you just explain some of the differences and some of the other products out there. Then you have what happened with McKay, and all of a sudden he's an advocate and he's talking to his wife like, man, you should hear this opportunity that we're faced with right now. We cannot pass this up. And, then it's an opportunity when they can't to do a little bit of coaching on credit. Like, well, let me give you some ideas because we want to still help you guys, but you gotta have credit.
Yeah. 2 new trucks, 2 new cars, and a house in the last year. Credit's hurting a little bit.
They wiped it all out. Right on, Jared. You got anything to add to that one?
Not a whole lot. I think it's important to be like assumptive and use like third-party stories with that.
Yes.
And it's funny. It's funny how the interest rates can affect how we position ourselves, because a couple of years ago when the interest rates were lower for a HELOC, we would have to attack it a different way. Yeah. So it's much more beneficial with how it's going for us right now. So it's cool to see that swing that way. But also for us to have enough industry knowledge and time in the game to kind of see those swings and percentage rates and stuff and know how to position ourselves, whether it's high rates or low rates. So it's really cool to kind of see that progress over time. But really, like I said, assumptive language, that's something that I would use a lot. Well, let's just leave it to the bank. I just need say if it's Synchrony, I just need a driver's license, expiration date on a credit card, and we'll check it out. And then you just be quiet and just wait. And then they're just like, okay. And then they produce what you need, and then you just go through. And then when you get them approved, same thing. You'll kind of bring up the reasons why it makes sense, close logically for them. And then, and I just kind of would assume the close from there as well. It's like, well, we got you guys approved. We know it makes sense. Next step is just to get the agreement taken care of and get you guys some new windows and just kind of roll with it. But yeah, different ways to approach it for sure. But that's all I got. Amazing, guys. You guys are absolute killers. And I'm excited to keep chunking away at these podcasts because we got a lot of other cool content that we're going to be going through.
Yeah, if you guys can, start thinking about, as you're going through some of these additional closes, what you can bring to the next podcast. We're putting together one for next week. And if we could put together 3 more ideas on the top closes that you guys are using out there, these really apply to almost every industry, especially the home services. So roofing,
home services
solar,
for sure. Yeah.
Pest control. But then, as I'm thinking about it, like these are pretty universal closes. And this is amazing information. And thank you guys for contributing today. Let's put together a list and keep this rolling. Next week, we'll cover some more closes. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. We're doing the kickoff on Sunday. It's going to be amazing. We've broke 5 records. There may even be more, but this month we've broke 5 records as a company that are some individual records, some company records, and we've got some cool prizes that we're going to be dropping on Sunday. Excited to see everybody. You guys have a fantastic day. Yeah. And to all you out there in podcast land, we'll see you next time.